And so authenticity is a really strong piece in what I do around you leadership because it's connected to ownership.
Yeah, so important.
If I take my phone home and I can't switch off, I'm being inauthentic and I'm not leading myself appropriately, and I'm compromised the values that I've set up at the start that I want to live by.
Yeah. Jet Xavier, welcome to the Moxham Mindset, mate.
Mate, that's a mouthful, Moxham Mindset. Say that 5 times fast.
No thanks.
Say that at the Christmas party. See you can do it.
Yeah, party trick. Welcome, mate. Thank you for your
thanks
time.
Thanks for having us, mate. It's good to be on the program. I love what you're doing. It's injecting positivity into humanity is what we're about. So it's good to be with someone who's like-minded and actually doing something about it, and particularly from the industry that we love as well. It's
Thank
an
you,
industry
mate.
that needs that. Yeah,
thank
I'm
you.
sure it goes wider, but it's good for the industry.
Yeah, thank you. And look, that's really, I was just saying to Abigail here in the Mentored Media team, that's really why I wanted to have you on the show. You had great vibes out there and great energy, and it's, it's for the same reasons you mentioned. It's just great hearing from people that, I have my favourite term lately about that is adding increase. We just want to add as much increase to whoever we meet and wherever we go, and you are all about adding increase. So I'm keen to hear all about it today, mate. The listeners are into it. So mate, we're going to ask a few questions. So you've had an interesting journey and an interesting life. Could you share with us, as a bit of an introduction, your background, Jet, to to where you are today in a nutshell?
So it's a bit of a come from behind story. Grew up in the inner west in Sydney. Parents alcoholics. Mum left when I was 6. Left home at 14. Left school at 14. Ended up a heroin addict at 15. Involved in armed hold-ups, carrying sawn-off shotguns around, girlfriends of prostituting, using dirty needles on the ground. I mean, I could go on for hours about the craziness of my life as a 16, 17-year-old teenager, homeless, suicidal, but basically going nowhere fast on a mission of self-destruction, very resistant to change, very victim-orientated, not taking any type of ownership for my life, and ultimately nearly paid the price for that. Overdosed on heroin with my girlfriend, was found in a park after being unconscious for 10 hours, rushed to intensive care because I was dying. Put under police guard because my girlfriend died the night before from a heroin overdose as well, and I was being charged with manslaughter. If I lived as I did, I would be facing 8 years in prison for manslaughter. Got through intensive care, fortunately, went into prison for a number of months, got bail, went to a court for 5 days in front of a jury, got found not guilty. Now I'm a 20-year-old trying to figure out the world and what the heck to do with my life. Spent probably 15 years in the wilderness, just wandering around aimlessly. Coming from my type of family, you don't have anybody that instills a great level of self-belief or you can do it type of mentality. It's more like you're useless, you're hopeless, you'll never get anywhere. And so I just took on that label and I lived it out through most of my 20s into my late 30s until I met Tony Robbins and did a 3-day crazy experience with him, which totally took me into a world that I'd never been into before, a world that said, hey, you've got something to offer. Hey, you've got something to add. You can increase. There is something that you can do on this earth that has a purpose to it, that you can do it, you're passionate about it, and all the stuff that Robbins does. And I was committed. I turned the corner. I went from a guy whose life was in that 1% of just doing nothing and going nowhere for the rest of his life, to a guy that started to educate himself around personal development. I went to uni for a year. I started a band. I skydived. I did a whole lot of things that I'd never thought that I could do but wanted to do. And I became a different person. My mindset started to change. I started to ask what's possible. I started to ask where are the opportunities. And a key thing, Jeff, I started to get around people like yourself who are influential, yeah? And I'd never been around groups like that. I'd just always been around losers, a teenager, and in my adulthood, just no names, going nowhere, doing nothing, settling, comfort zone every single day. And getting around these people, these very successful people, taught me a couple of things. It gave me a hell of a lot of self-belief. it showed me that anything can be done if you put your mind to it and you put in a bit of time and energy and a bit of mental capacity. And it really showed me at the end of the day what was possible for my life. And rather than having a life by default, which is what I had, I started to create a life by design. And that sort of started a 15-year journey to now where for the last 10 years, I've been in this industry of real estate, helping people lead themselves more effectively.
Yep. And how, can I ask, thank you for sharing that. I've just fascinating. And mate, congratulations. And no wonder you are so passionate about adding increase and you know,
sure.
living life every day. So it's a beautiful story. How did you come to focus? So a fair bit of real estate work with your clients in your coaching business?
Once I got the personal development bug, and started to educate myself and take ownership and take responsibility and learn that if I wanted things to change, I needed to change. Once I started to do that, I became a life coach. I was a personal training business. I was an aerobics instructor. A lot of my clients as a personal trainer run $1 million businesses, and they'd be talking about teamwork and culture and leadership. And I'd say, I can do that. I can help you. And because we were mates and I was training them, they probably let me practice on their teams. But I spent a number of years just sort of winging it, just educating myself about culture or about teams and leadership and going and delivering programs. And it was a great time. And then someone talked to me about mentoring, and I'd never heard of mentoring. They talked to me about getting my own coach. I thought, I don't need my own coach. I know what I'm doing. I don't need anyone to tell me what to do. I don't need a mentor.
Yeah.
I've got stuff sorted. And then I saw people where I wanted to be, and I think, how did they get there? And they got there through mentoring and coaching. And
Massive.
So I spent about $60,000 over a 5-year period on coaches and mentors.
Yep.
And one of my mentors, Dale Beaumont, who we just talked about off camera, sat down with me at one of his mastermind groups.
Yep.
And we really nutted out this whole niching around what I offered. And what I offered was mindset shift, mindset change around performance.
Yep.
And the conversation was pretty straightforward. Where do you think you do the best work? In what industry? And I thought, oh, well, I really love real estate. I get up and go and have a crack. And he goes, well, you've got to make a commitment to that industry with your mindset performance. And so I sat in the lounge of my ex-girlfriend's house for 6 months and calling people like you.
Yep.
Telling you that I'm the best coach in the world and getting nothing for 6 months and questioning everything. But I said to myself, if this catches, I'm going to stay in it. And 11 years later, it's still growing. It's been one of the best things I've ever done in my life. I'm so blessed. I can't be more thankful to people like yourself and this beautiful industry that's afforded me a lifestyle and a purpose to get up in the morning and go and make a difference, mate.
Mate, it's fantastic. We're actually very, very similar in a lot of the things you're talking about. One of the things, and I'm going to touch on what you mentioned about, you know, with Dale, or two things. One with Dale, and which obviously he's very successful, and he's honed right in on what you're good at, and it's something that I'm very passionate about. And you know, we are our best, us humans, when we're doing what we love. And our purpose on this planet is to, you know, deliver as much as we possibly can while we're here, and that's how we all grow. And how would you, so for people that maybe not have found their true purpose or are wondering about it, what's something that you could sort of share with the listeners as a starting point? For might be some younger ones out there that are like, oh, I haven't had that aha moment. You know, you're blessed to have had that. I'm blessed to have had that. It's in all of us. It just needs to be, you know, shoehorned out, doesn't it?
Yeah, I agree, totally. So what I do with my clients and people that are at this sort of impasse around where do I go, what do I do, how do I live a life that means something, we do the life by design, not default grid, and it's basically four boxes, and one of the boxes is what means the most to me, what's important. And if you get clear about that, that's generally aligned with what you value. So what's important to me is fun, passion, and variety. So everything I do is built around fun, passion, and variety. Yeah. And then you ask yourself, what am I passionate about? What do I love to really do? What is that thing or those things that I love to be a part of, whether in real estate or outside of real estate? And then you ask yourself, what is my purpose? not only purpose in life like a Nelson Mandela, Mother Teresa purpose, but what's
Yeah.
my purpose as an agent?
Yeah.
What's my purpose as a human? What's my
Yeah.
purpose as a father? What's my purpose as a colleague?
Yes.
And then you ask yourself, what fulfills me the most? And those 4 questions, what means the most to me? What am I passionate about? What do I think my purpose is and what fulfills me the most? They are doorways to greatness.
Yeah.
They are doorways to your authenticity. And I find people that are lost, people that are meandering like I was through life, people that don't have that get up and go and they feel like they're making a difference, is because they haven't answered those questions.
Yeah.
And so if they haven't answered those questions, their compass has stopped. They've crashed into the rocks and haven't seen the lighthouse or the electric fence that says, this is what you need to do. And they need to sit down and take stock and go, what am I thinking, feeling, and doing in these areas? It's funny, I was with Steve Carroll yesterday, and we're talking about New Year's resolutions. And he said, what's one of the things we can do now, Jet, in December to make our New Year's resolutions work? And I said, well, the first thing we can do is don't have any New Year's resolutions.
Yeah.
Just ban New Year's resolutions altogether.
Yep.
And come back to those 4 quadrants, those 4 boxes, and spend some time on finding out what those boxes represent for you. And those questions in those boxes will light you up.
Yep. And that's what it's about, isn't it?
That's what it's about. But you've got to connect to something. If you're wandering around going, well, I got no purpose, I don't know what to do, not happy, things aren't going my way, you're not connected to any of those boxes.
That's it.
You get connected to those 4 areas in your life, and it's a game changer.
That's it, man. And that's how you get through the tough times, because you got to do what you love. You got to do what you desire. And that's how you get through these tough times. And I actually had an episode a couple of weeks ago. I'm also very big on coaching and spend good money on coaching and have done for a long time, and fascinated with how it's helped me. And I had a guest on, a very successful guest on a couple of weeks ago, and he was saying he similar, like super successful CEO of a big organisation, started as an agent, known him for years, very, very capable and successful man. Also, he thought, I'm not really big on coaching. Do I really need it? I've been doing pretty well, and he absolutely was. And then they got a coach for his organisation because it was really growing, and it was, we needed to get a coach. And the coach said to him, so what do you want? And he said, oh, well, and he sort of thought about it. He said, actually, I can't actually put into words what it is that I actually want. How interesting. And it's just the beginning of the journey, isn't it? It's like, what do you want? Like, what do you want to do?
Well, yeah, it's interesting because most people ask what they want and they answer it from their head.
Yes.
From their logic. Well, I want more money, or I want more holidays, or I want a better car, or I want to pay off the mortgage, or I want, but when they start asking the questions from the heart around what they want, that's a different conversation altogether.
It's beautiful.
And I think we've lost that. I think we're sort of stuck in the headspace around asking about life and purpose and what we want to do, rather than going into the heart space and going, okay, what makes me tick? What makes me come alive? What makes me who I am? And being led from that heart space is really important. It takes the ability to be quiet and calm and listen, which is part of the journey as well.
Oh, it's beautiful, man. So you have a very successful podcast, and you're described as the high performance guy, and it's a big passion of what you do. Interested in, what is your definition of high performance? So
high performance to me is, I coach businesses who are already successful. Yeah.
Yep.
But they just haven't got the life part right. So they can't switch off. They don't have any time. The relationship's strained. The kids don't know them. They think they're a stranger.
Yep.
They haven't got good health. They're not doing anything with their money.
And so common in the real estate industry, right?
It's common in life.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
And so I work with the successful business people to get that life bit right and to bring the two into congruency. The reason it's not right to start with is because they're being inauthentic. They're not being honest with themselves. And for me, authenticity is about not compromising. It's that junction where you have to make a decision. Am I going to go to the gym today or not? I'm not. So you compromise. Or, I'm going to get up and I'm going to go. It's that moment of decision where you have to get rid of that staff person maybe because they're not performing or functioning or right for the culture. And you go, I'm not going to do that. Not yet. I'm going to leave it because I can't deal with conflict. That's compromising. It's not being authentic. Rather than going, yeah, this is the right thing to do, and I'm going to step into the conflict and crisis, and I'm going to be authentic. So all those mini moments, Jeff, of decision define us. It defines our authenticity, not in a sense of perfection, but in us being able to look at us at the end of the day and going, hey, you are authentic. And not authentic in being a nice person or doing the right thing in the sense of that. It's more authentic in having that life by design, not default. It's more about going, hang on a second, I want to be with my family. But every time I stay back at the office for too long and make excuses about why I'm there rather than not with what I think is the most important thing, I'm compromising. I'm not being authentic. And the big thing that I'm rolling out next year, Jeff, is you leadership. And it is about leaders like yourself learning how to lead themselves within, leading that you within. And so authenticity is a really strong piece in what I do around you leadership because it's connected to ownership.
So important.
If I take my phone home and I can't switch off, I'm being inauthentic and I'm not leading myself appropriately, and I'm compromised the values that I've set up at the start that I want to live by. And so this is where people get stuck and they make excuses and they justify why they don't do something, when it comes back down to the way you lead yourself is the way you lead your life.
Yeah, man, so true. What would be one thing that you could start, what would be one thing that somebody could do today towards high performance if they don't think they're living a high performance life?
So they've got to define what it is for them. Once they define what it is for them and they start from where they are, they can see where the gaps are about them getting there. So it's typical analysis. Part of the You Leadership program is analysis and awareness. It's like, get out of the dark room that you're walking around in, bumping into stuff that holds you back, and stop using a candle sometimes to try and find out what's holding you back, and stop just using a torch and shining it on some things. Turn the light on and have a good look at what's holding you back, right? In regards to where you want to go, because there's always a gap. If I want to go somewhere and I'm not there yet, there's a gap. There's a reason why I'm not there yet. There's something that's impacting that, and I've got to take ownership and assess that, because once I do, then I can move into action and be authentic in every decision that I make. So it's a process that people need to stop and take stock, Jeff, of their lives and where they want to go. And that's where the whole life by design, not default, comes in. I always ask leaders, what's your model? What's your model? What's your model? What's your model? What do you want it to look like? What do you want it to look like?
Get clear.
Don't know that. You can't start. You're starting from maybe this is a good idea. Maybe that's what I should do. Maybe the industry says this is what success looks like, so I'll do that. Rather than, again, coming from that intuitive space, mate, and going, okay, what's really important? What means the most? What's purpose? And all those questions we asked before. And then how do I get there? And is there a gap? Am I holding this back? Is there something else holding it back? What do I need to do now? That's when you become what we call an actionator, Jeff. It's all about being an actionator at the end of the day.
I love it. So on the other end of the scale, you coach a lot of very successful people. What do you think is what's the biggest thing that you coach successful people? And I know in the agency space, and it's particular residential, it's 6 days a week, sometimes 7, hard for young families. What's the one thing that you coach these very high-performing, successful people to get back some sort of wholesomeness to their life as opposed to just work?
It's control. They just want control, and they're out of control. They're putting out fires, the business has demands on them, they're being pulled to and fro to a whole lot of things, they're across things that they don't need to be involved in, they're taking responsibility, they're saying yes, they're hard to say no, they want time out, they want to spend it with their family, they want to have some time for their health, they want to go on a break, but they've got no control. They've lost their freedom. The thing that was supposed to give them the freedom has taken the freedom away. Now they're good at business, but that's the easy part. If I've noticed anything, it's good and easy to sort of build a business if you put in the knowledge and the effort and the application to an extent. But the life part is the hardest part. So what I help leaders do is get back control.
Yeah.
And once they get back control, they start to live out the model that they want to live, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I think that's really important. Whether you're running a business of 10 offices or you're just an agent by yourself who's doing your own thing, the same principle applies. And when you get out of control, you lose sight of who you are, and then you start to fall prey to a whole lot of other dynamics which impact every area of your life.
Yeah, so true, man. And we've all been through that. That's for sure.
Definitely. But just to add something with what you said,
Yep.
we blame real estate for it when it's not real estate.
Yeah.
It's us.
Yeah.
We do. Oh, real estate's
everything.
busy.
It's
Real
always
estate-
us.
It puts you under pressure. Real estate gets the best of you. Real estate, I got to be there 5 nights a week. Really, I got to be. No, we make the decision.
Totally.
We choose what we want to do.
Yeah.
And so if we choose what we want to do, we can unchoose it at the same time.
That's it. Everything has an opposite.
Correct.
It's all by
The
choice.
opposite in this case is good.
Yes. That's
Well,
it.
well, it's the whole masculine, archetype that, to be successful, you have to drive yourself into the ground, sacrifice everything, ruin your health and your family, and then hopefully at the end of it, you've got something to stand for and somebody still standing with you. This is archaic. This is outdated philosophies when it's about managing energy, not time.
Yes.
The millennials are showing us, hang on a second, we're not doing it the same way that you did it. We're going to work out how to make a great business and a great life without this type of rubbish that you guys have been through. And so they're questioning the whole model that we've been living by. If
So
the model was
interesting.
so good, and the reason why people buy into the model, because you can build a successful business, but at what price?
Yeah.
At what cost?
Yeah.
So that tells us something's wrong with the model. What about we build a great business, knock it out of the park, and have the best life possible? That is
good.
achievable. I do it every day, and it's great to see men in particular step up and go, hey, I need a hand. I got it wrong.
Yeah,
Great
yeah.
business, but I'm fucking shit at all the rest of the stuff.
Yeah, totally. That's awesome, man. I got big goosebumps when you said that. I've become very passionate about success and getting better, and how do we be the best and most effective people we can be? It's something that in the last 5 years I've become very passionate about. I love the fact that being better is infinite. So it's just an ongoing quest, isn't it? It's like the horizon. You never sort of quite get there. How do you yourself, being a coach of high performance people, how do you yourself continue to grow, Jet?
Yeah, good question. That's a great question. I try and let go of the outcome-based type of thinking around getting somewhere, and that's a defined moment in time where I've made it. I'm trying in my own journey, to sort of let go of that concept and just realize that the best version is now.
Yes.
And how do I celebrate that, and what do I need to be that? And if anything, the closest port of call is tomorrow, and how can I bring some of that into there? And then reward and celebrate the little wins on the outcomes down the track. But I realized long ago that always being stuck on the outcome puts too much pressure and unrealistic expectations on me. And so that I'm always fearing failure. I'm not taking chances or risks. I'm not living the model I want, and I'm just defaulting to the way I was.
Yeah.
So that best version is a day-to-day proposition.
So good.
In particular areas,
Yeah.
So it's health. It's am I doing something to take a step towards my goal? Am I connecting with my family? Am I making a difference? Am I living my vision and mission and values? And so that's how I measure myself now.
Yeah.
And outside of that, I have some goals that I want to achieve and obtain through that person being at their most effective and efficient on a day-to-day basis.
You put a great post up on social media the other day. I don't know if it was your dog, but it was a dog sort of just jumping around on the beach, and you said this is freedom. And I think I really resonated with that, because one of my favourite things to do is walk my dog. I just really love doing it. I love taking it to the dog park and watching it play with other dogs. And I think the reason, seeing your posts, and they're just living in the now.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
They're just doing their best thing right
It
at
was-
that
was
point of
my
time.
dog.
And it's
It was my dog.
Was it your dog?
Yeah. Little Gaia. He's a beautiful. I mean, This is the thing, and I think it's a life cycle thing as well. I mean, Wayne Dyer talks about ambition to meaning, and he says when we're in our younger years, it's all about ambition. We're trying to prove ourselves. We're trying to get somewhere. We're trying to be somebody. We're trying to have something, and we're caught up in this ambition. And then some of us stay in that for the rest of our lives, and others get to a point where they go, well, hang on a second, this isn't really what it was supposed to be. I had an agent who wrote 3.5 million start working with me not because his business wasn't working, because he's going, mate, so what do I do now? Who cares? But the whole ambition and meaning piece is really important, because I think you get into that early 30s, life starts to change, you get into your 40s, you're heading towards your 50s, and meaning becomes more apparent.
Totally.
I never would have thought my dog running along the beach would have gave me such joy when I was in my 20s or early 30s.
Amazing, eh?
It's everything. And it's funny, it's that whole, Bronnie Ware's 5 Regrets of the Dying book. If people are interested, it's a great book. Bronnie Ware, 5 Regrets of the Dying. She nursed hundreds and hundreds of people to their passing in palliative care. And she asked them the key question, what are your biggest regrets? This is a big study. And one of the biggest regrets were, I wish I let myself be happier.
Yeah.
The other one was, I wish I didn't work so hard.
Yeah.
The other one was, I wish I listened to what other people said I should do with my life. And so it's funny that we have to get to the end before we realise what we should have done at the beginning.
Isn't that interesting, man?
That whole meaning piece. And here's the thing, Jeff, when you live out of a space like that, it's incredibly harmonious. But when you work out of a space like that, it's super, super extraordinary in the sense of who you are.
Isn't it?
When you get to that space of work and the two collide, it's an incredible transition.
Isn't it? It's just remarkable. And it's you sort of, I hear you, man. Morning routine?
Yeah, morning routine, move, lift, stretch. That's pretty much it. Fuel, food.
What time do you get up?
Huh?
What time do you get up?
Well, my partner gets up at 5, so I have to pretty much get up at 5. If she gets up at 6, I get up at 6. If she gets up at 4, I'm pretty much up at 4.
Yeah.
So we early starters.
Yep.
We go to bed early.
Yeah. Me too.
But definitely exercise. Definitely get in the zone. Definitely focus on what I want to do today around my values and how I'm going to make a difference, and where am I going to be enjoying something that I'm passionate about. And like we talked before, just over there's a little skateboard that I've got in my office, and I've got my bike, and I've got guitars, and
the best.
I've got a fun list that I follow, and I make sure that I'm always dialing in to what I feel like is my ultimate experience as a human wherever I am in that moment.
That's so cool.
And so that's part of that morning routine, to be really conscious of that. Read my vision, mission, and value statement. Not for my business. That one is for me. What's my vision as a human?
Yeah.
What's my mission as a human, and what are my values as a human?
I mean, everything. It all stems from there, doesn't it? That's most important.
Yeah. If I stick to that, I'm going to have the most incredible day. If I stray from that, I'm in the zone of trying to prove myself, or trying to beat somebody, or trying to keep up, or trying to get somewhere that's not really that important anyway. But if I stay dialed into that through what I do, for me, that's success, mate.
It's just so awesome. So you took 10 clients to Nepal.
Yeah, we went a couple of years ago, not too long ago. Base camp Mount Everest.
Wow.
Kathmandu to Lukla. Lukla's the most dangerous airport in the world. It's only 300-meter landing strip, and you land on the side of a mountain in a small plane. That was exciting. I'd go just to do that again. And people die all the time at that airport. There was a helicopter crash that killed a number of people a week before we got there, and the helicopter was still there. So you can imagine flying into this airport, you don't know how you're going to go, and you can see the crash that happened before that killed people. So that was an interesting start.
How did that come about, that trip? It's just was it a thought bubble?
I run a mastermind group with my clients, and so I always do something. We've been to Ezrock, we've been to Bali, we've done stuff in around other places in Australia, and I thought, what about a personal development program in one of the most amazing places on the planet? Why don't we make that happen? And I was running a 2-day wellness and wellbeing retreat for the industry a couple of years ago, and I just put it out there, and some other people wanted to get involved, and my clients wanted to get involved, and yeah, we just made it happen, mate. So
Awesome.
it was a 14-day trek. Two people didn't make it. One turned around after 4 days, and they thought, yeah, I've achieved what I needed to achieve. And one person who was so brave and courageous got to the day before he left for base camp and had to be chop it out. She had a base camp pneumonia. She was very, very sick and had to get emergency airlifted to Kathmandu. But the rest of us, we got into base camp, and the provider we used was able to get us to camp there overnight, which is not what tourists do. You usually go to base camp, you have a look at the front, and then you go. You can't go in. So we were fortunate to go in, walk on the Kumba Icefall where they go up, the most dangerous part of going up to Everest. It just was a strong appreciation of life itself, the Nepalese people, the Buddhist traditions and philosophy. It was just an incredible time. Day to day, we did personal development stuff around optimism and growth and opportunity and possibility. But it was just a life-changing experience in seeing that part of the world, meeting those types of people. And the climbers. Everyone in base camp is climbing, or they're supporting a person who's climbing. And, you know, those people, they're wired differently. There's something about them that is different. And it was an incredible experience to sit down with some of the biggest climbers ever in the world doing their 20th, 25th summit of the mountain, bringing teams along and just getting into their headspace. And, you know, they were just do-it people. They were, you know, this is life. Let's do it. Let's not question, sit around trying to figure it out. Let's just go for it. So it was inspirational, yeah.
Phenomenal, man. Had you been there before?
No, never.
Wow.
Never. I'd always, like every young boy, I've always thought, I'd love to climb Mount Everest one day.
Yeah.
But going to base camp and looking, it was like, oh my God, that takes a couple of years of your life to climb at least 5 big summits before you do that. It's a very big commitment. They're very dedicated people.
That's it's focus at its best,
And
isn't
a
it?
once in a lifetime opportunity. So
Yeah, brilliant. And you said that was for you raised money for charity as well.
Yeah, so there was a girls' home, like sex trade, slavery is sort of big over there. And so we raised money for an orphanage where they save the girls from getting kidnapped. And they teach them job skills, hopefully so they can be employed at some way along the line. We raised about 10 grand or something, but it was just nice to go into that place and see how they'd set it up and the work that they were doing, and just get down to what's really happening in life. You know, sometimes it's easier to get away from ourselves here on the Gold Coast and think that there are no problems when we've still got a world out there that's going through a lot of turmoil and struggle in many places.
Yeah, phenomenal, man. Riding your bike to Melbourne.
Now, there's a New Year's resolution that you don't do. couple of beers.
And are you a rider?
I do about 14 Ks a day at the moment.
Oh, okay.
I'm not a long rider.
Yep.
I'm not that serious. But that was an idea over a couple of drinks with a friend and said, let's raise some money and ride to Melbourne solo. She backed out and I just took it on myself, got sponsors, and we shook the can on the way down, and took about 10 or so days. But
that's awesome, man.
we went down the coast of New South Wales, Victoria. I did it on a mountain bike, which is a mistake. I should have done it on a road bike. Because, mountain bike complicates the thing a little bit further. But again, awesome. It was one of those things. It's like, trying to experience something and do something different and engage in something that was challenging.
Yeah.
But also helped others at the same time. So
that's beautiful.
I mean, we're doing a ride with Steve Carroll Digital Live this year as well. Next year, August, for Hands Across the Water. So he does this every year. I think he's had 80 riders be part of the program.
Okay.
It's a great community in Thailand. But yeah, Steve Carroll's a legend in the industry, and he's been putting it together for years. So we're going to go over and do that for 9 days in Thailand to raise money for kids in orphanages over there as well this year. So
that's awesome, mate. Continue doing stuff like that. And so for your agents, in terms of agency, So for their professional life, so for our agent listeners, because I've got a fair few agent listeners and a lot of commercial agent listeners,
Yep.
biggest tip to being successful in what they do as being agents?
Well, for me, get yourself right.
Yeah,
You know,
that's it, isn't it?
everything flows from there.
Yeah, totally.
If you're
Yeah.
right, you're
Yeah.
confident, you're unstoppable, you're enthusiastic, you're optimistic, you're
Yeah.
positive, you're solution focused, you take ownership.
Yep.
If you're not right, if your mind, body, soul is out of alignment, if you're not healthy and you've got negative thinking and you're not focused and your compass is not set, if you're dragging your ass through the day because you're exhausted, if you're compromising, you're not going to perform anywhere near what you should. Now, you might create success, but like I said before, that's the easy part.
Yeah.
It's what does it cost you?
Yep.
What's the impact of that? So my whole thing, Jeff, is get yourself right. Get you right. Get the foundation right. Get the principles and the values that you align yourself with right. Get authentic. Stop compromising. And take that person into the game, and it's
Yep.
a game changer.
Yeah, man. The
I
roots
think,
of the
you've got to
tree.
start there.
Yeah.
From a professional, real estate's a resilience game, mate.
Yep.
The thing about real estate is it's predictable. If you stay in the game, most people are going to fall back and give up. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you stay in there, you look at any great agent in commercial or residential, and they are people that have just stayed in the game.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
They've stayed consistent, they've stayed reliable, they've followed up, they've built relationships, they've been patient, they've stayed in the game for the long run, and all of a sudden there've been thousands of people beside them, and the next minute there's one or two, and the rest are gone. That is real estate.
Yep.
So I tell my agents, it's predictable. Yeah, there's no second guessing. You do this, success is guaranteed. Yeah, you just keep showing up. Just keep getting better at your craft, getting better at your databasing, get better at building relationships. Just keep doing that, and your percentages you being successful are incredibly high.
Yeah, it's a wonderful business, isn't it? Really, it's not rocket science. It's there's plenty of blue sky, isn't there?
It's untapped, mate. What do you want it to be?
Yeah.
I did a lot of work with Dave Highland when they first started. They had about 10 or so people. Now they've got hundreds of people, 4 offices. They're in Double Bay.
Yeah.
Just watching his journey from a young age, and it's been incredible. I've got hundreds of stories, as you would have as well.
Yeah.
Your own story. Look at yourself, mate. You don't sit there successful just by turning up and going, clicking my fingers and making it happen.
That's it,
That's
man.
a journey of staying in the game. You've had your ups, you've had your downs,
Yeah.
you've had your challenges, struggles, your wins, and your celebrations. But the consistent thing about it is you're still in the game.
That's it, man. That's it.
And when many people had started when you did, and I reckon there would have been hundreds along the way.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
So,
it all comes back to doing what you love too, isn't it? It's and I certainly love it, and it's a great industry.
It's passion, mate. When you're passionate about something, you'll get out of bed.
That's it, man. That's like what we were saying before. If you want to achieve great things, you got to do what you love, because that's what gets you up every day when it's tough.
That's the fuel.
Mate, you've answered one question about one of your favourite books, The 5 Regrets of the Dying. Brilliant. Yeah. I've heard of that. I haven't read it before. I'm going to get that. What would you consider so we're coming to the last couple of questions. What would you consider your greatest achievement, Jet?
I reckon my greatest achievement is staying alive, mate.
Yes, that's...
I think that was that moment in my life was a crucible. It was like it was salvation, redemption, a lesson all in one, and forever grateful for the opportunity to still live, and then stumble through life and still get another opportunity, and still keep getting opportunities. I feel like a cat with 9 lives sometimes.
Oh man, you're clearly attracting great things because you're doing great things, and that's how it rolls, isn't it? It's It's
and I think so. I think and I think making a difference, mate. When I talk to someone and you've influenced them in some way, there's nothing like that.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that feeling of going, something I said made a difference.
That's so
that's
beautiful.
really powerful, and it's like,
It is.
You can get addicted to that.
Yeah, totally. Nothing better to be addicted to than that, and it does become addictive, doesn't it?
I think I need to go to rehab. I'm so addicted to that.
Me too. I have a saying. So my father was a real estate agent, and my grandfather, and my dad had a whole lot of great sayings, real estate sayings, and my sister and I called them moxisms as we were growing up.
Boxes.
And do you have any jetisms? I'm sure you do. What's
Yeah,
one of your
yeah,
what's
yeah.
a favorite? What's a favorite saying?
This one I've carried all my life. It's not the dog in the fight; it's the fight in the dog.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's the one that's always been there. It's like, there's always a way out of this. You just got to fight. You just got to step up. You just got to lean in. You just got to have a crack, and that's always worked for me.
That's so brilliant, man. Mate, a great thing to close on. Thank you so much for your time today. You're a busy man. I've just loved just engaging in your content out there, and mate, keep adding increase. It's wonderful to see, and thank you for everything, mate. And I'd shake your hand, but we're not on Zoom. So, and I look forward to meeting you one day. If I'm up there, or if you're down here, I'll certainly make a point of it. We'll have a coffee or something.
Definitely, mate. Definitely. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man.